Will the Committee on Budget please come to order? It is 9:02 a.m. on Tuesday, May 2. A belated Happy May Day. Late is Lay Day in Hawaii. Okay, so with that, I would like to welcome. We have Councilmember Say as well as Councilmember Kia Aina. Thank you very much. So there are no other members who are, there are no members participating remotely by video conference. So moving forward, pursuant to Section 92-3.7, the Hawaii Revised Statutes, or HRS, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda two ways, remotely and in person in the council chamber. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when the agenda item is taken up. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each person may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will be called upon first. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. For those who are joining us by telephone only, I will identify you by your last 3 digits of your phone number. When your phone number is called, please press *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. And I will repeat the prompt later on if there is a video, someone via phone. Once again, *6. I will then give persons who have not registered an opportunity to offer testimony. Please utilize raise hand feature on Zoom to be called upon. Some friendly reminders and tips: video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are watching the proceedings on Honolulu, please mute your television at the time you're called to testify. When the timer on screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, I will proceed to in-person testimony in the council chamber. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. The HRS Section 92-3.7 requires all votes at remote meetings to be conducted by a roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I will first call for objections, and if there are any, I will call for a roll call vote. Written testimonies. For written testimonies, the testifier's addresses, email address, and phone number will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. And as a courtesy, please silence or turn off all cell phones. With that, I would also like to welcome Councilor Toba and Committee Vice Chair Wire to the committee. With that, we have agenda item number 1 first. We have resolution 23-47, which confirms the appointment of Ms. Sandra Larson to serve on the Grants and Aids Advisory Commission of the City and County of Honolulu for a term expiring on January 14, 2026. We have the appointee here. Thank you very much. Just please press the on-off button there. And welcome to the council chambers again.
Thank you. Aloha, Chair and council members. Sandra Larson. Just again, really grateful to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to serve. Not sure I'm available if anyone has questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Larson? Thank you very much also for taking the time to meet. And did you get to meet with any of the other council members?
No, I know the managing office has made the offer, so if anyone else is interested in meeting, I'm happy and available.
Yeah, it's a great meeting, so thank you very much for making that time. And I also asked all the council members to do the diligence to meet with the appointees. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Sam Oku, the Chief of Staff for the Office of the Mayor. Oh, yeah. Oh. Hello, Mr. Moku.
Aloha, Council Chair and members of Budget Committee. In regards to Sandra Larson, we highly support her. She's been an advocate in the community and a great leader in the business community. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions? Okay, we have Council Vice Chair Kia Aina. Oh, sorry.
Aloha, good morning.
Aloha.
As you know, this commission is very important, especially to our nonprofit organizations. So I strongly support Ms. Larson's nomination. I do note that she is replacing a female member of the commission, and currently there are only 5 members right now, 4 men and 1 woman out of 7. seven is normally the total number, so
Correct.
there's two. Okay, so as you know, as a matter of gender equity,
Yes.
I highly recommend that the two vacant positions be filled by Wahine, and future nominations take that into account as well.
Yes.
I have not asked her, but I nominate Auli'i Dudwa, former executive director for the key project in Kahaluu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Yep.
Okay, members, any other questions for Sam Mugu, Chief of Staff? Okay, members, we are still in discussion. We can ask questions to also Ms. Larson. I would like to call up Ms. Larson back. I forgot to ask this question, excuse me. Thank you. Of course, we see your resume here with your professional background, and of course, this Grant and Aid Commission is very important for our nonprofit organizations as well. And if you could share a little bit about your community experience outside of your professional experience.
Outside of professional, I mean, most of it is tied with professional.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I mean, I guess maybe ignore that last part. Go ahead.
Okay. I do personally also am a board member for the Boys and Girls Club of Maui. That's an organization that's very near and dear to my heart. We work a lot with the community and the youth in Maui through that organization. And I also am working with the community as part of my professional position with AES, and prior to working with AES, I was with Young Brothers, where I did work with the communities across the neighbor islands in listening to their needs and trying to address whatever concerns and needs that they had.
Thank you very much. Members, any other questions? Okay, Councilmember Say.
Yes, Ms. Larson, one question that I have, when we are put in a situation whereby there are more demands than the resources that are being provided, what are the criteria that you have in determining what areas of priority you like to see?
I think one of the most important things is looking to make sure that what is being asked for is actually a viable project or a viable need. If there's some criteria that the applicant can show in terms of, verifying that this is a tangible need or a tangible project that is going to move forward in the near term, that to me is something that is really important, so that it's something that will ensure that the funds are used in the near term.
Madam Chair, may I follow up with another question? The next question, Ms. Larson, would be simply put, is there a policy within the commission today that would say to all these nonprofits who have been receiving these particular monies and grants that you have a two-year limit whereby you can open up more of these funds for other new nonprofit organizations? That the city does not become an entity that they depend on their basic operations. It is a concern for me because we have been denying a lot of new organizations here on the county of Oahu. So I bring this up primarily because you folks will have to discuss that among the commissioners. But it puts us in a very awkward position because we get calls from these nonprofits asking for help, talking to the commissioners, and I'm not going to do that. You folks are the ones appointed, because I don't want politics to be involved in the selection of these nonprofits who do qualify. So I ask that question because you have to educate your other commissioners, or you learn from them about, is it going to be 2 years or 3 years, or will it be continuously, whereby the fund is not going to be going to other nonprofits who are now beginning their particular programs and services. But I just bring this up for your thoughts.
No, I appreciate that, and I think that's something that we'll definitely have to dive into if I'm, chosen to serve. I definitely think that's a really good point, and as we see across the islands, the need is great, and so making sure that we are able to identify other organizations and not just continue to give to the same organizations, I think that's really important.
Thank you, and that's a great point by Councilmember say, Ms. Larson. I actually, in our meeting together, shared with you, of course, the charter amendment that really did take out the like he put into words, took the politics out our council's hand out of the GIA process, and so I think I shared with you and then also Mr. Hurt that I trust you guys to make that decisions during your term. So thank you. Okay, members, any other questions for GIA? Okay, all right, we will now proceed with remote testifiers. Thank you, you may sit down. Okay, there are no registered testifiers for remote. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Please use the raise hand feature. Okay, with that, seeing none, we will now proceed with in-person testimony in the council chamber. There are no remote registered speakers. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on Resolution 23-47? Okay, thank you. Seeing none, we will now proceed with, oh, I already said that. Okay, seeing none, members, we are in discussion. Discussion for the nomination of Ms. Larson. Okay, thank you. Chair recommends that Resolution 23-47 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Of course, thank you very much, Ms. Larson. And any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you, and we'll see you at the council meeting. Okay, with that, Resolution 23-49, confirming the appointment of Mr. Cameron Hurt to serve on the Grants and Aid Advisory Commission of the City and County of Honolulu for a term expiring on January 14, 2025. With us today, we have the appointee, Mr. Cameron Hurt. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee, and thank you, honorable members of the Council. Again, my name is Cameron Hurt. Quick background of me, I have a lot of experience in nonprofit management and working with grants directly, as well as I am the son of a grant writer, claim to fame there. But I would highly recommend that you guys push me through to the next and final round, and I'm here to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hurt, did you get an opportunity to meet with any of the other council members yet?
No, not yet. I have not.
Okay, thank you. And I know you talked a little bit about your experience with nonprofits, so I don't have to ask that question. But members, are there any questions for Mr. Hurt? Okay, Councilmember Say.
Yes, Mr. Hurt, in your resume, which I think is excellent, but on question 22, what do you understand to be the prime duties of your county appointment? Is it to attend meetings regularly, which you will, engage in evaluation and conversation with respect to grants awarded to the city and county? I don't believe you're supposed to be evaluating grants that are awarded to the city and county. You'll be receiving grants and aids application forms for you to evaluate if you support those nonprofits or not. This is what I'm reading.
No, thank you for that, council member. I think that that was just a sentence structure error on my end. I mean it as a way that evaluate the applications that are that come through. So that could just be a sentence structure error, and I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Say. Members, are there any questions for Mr. Hurt? Thank you. And of course, like I mentioned to Ms. Larson regarding the charter amendment that occurred, and so I don't have to repeat myself with that, but also I just want to wish you happy birthday, and I hope you had a great birthday celebration over the weekend. And members, any other questions still? Okay, with that, we'll call up Chief of Staff Sam Moku for the appointment.
Aloha, Chair and council members. We're supporting this nomination, and due to some diversity, we want to be able to provide a diverse board, grant and aids board, and we support Cameron Hurt.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Chief of Staff Sam Moku? Okay, thank you. And thank you for especially looking into their involvement in nonprofit work and community work as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, with that, we will now proceed with remote testifiers. I don't have any registered remote testifiers, but is there anyone online who wishes to testify? Please use the raise hand feature. Okay, seeing none, we will now proceed with in-person testimony in the council chamber. I don't have any remote registered speakers, but is there anyone else in the council chamber who wishes to testify? Okay, please come up, press the on-off button. Please state your name for the record, and you may proceed. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for having me today. So my name is Alexander Miller. I'm actually a student with Mr. Hurt here. I just have something to say, just a few things. So Mr. Hurt is a father, a friend, a teacher, and a coach. He's an individual who will look out for you and your well-being, checks in with anyone that needs his service. He will work endlessly to make sure that the people who he is helping and serving is satisfied. And as my mentor and teacher, he also inspired me as an individual to always pursue my own happiness and my own positive growth outlook as well. And he has also helped me a lot when it comes to education as well, and all these nonprofit grants and anything that can help me and succeed in what I want to do. I am who I am today thanks to Mr. Hurt, and I believe that he is the man for the job and will successfully fulfill the role for the people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Members, any questions for the testifier? Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to testify in person? Okay. All right. Seeing none. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify even online? Okay. Seeing none. Members, we are in discussion. Okay. And once again, thank you, Mr. Hurt, for your willingness to serve. Okay. With that, the chair recommends that Resolution 23-49 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered, and we'll see you at the council meeting. Thank you, Mr. Hurt. Okay. Next up, we have Bill 2, 2023, CD1, which amends the revised ordinances of Honolulu relating to fees for a golf identification card. With us from the city administration, we have the Director for Department of Enterprise Services, Director Pupilio.
Morning, Budget Chair
morning.
Cordero, fellow council members. Thank you for having me today. I just would like to reiterate, we're working on municipal golf course identification card fees. It's not for the existing holders. It's actually a sort of an administrative fee moving forward for new and also replacement or lookup for members who do not bring their card to golf.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? I know we've had 2 times to discuss. I asked questions the last few times. Any other questions? Okay, my question is, do they have to have the physical card with them?
Yes, that's the goal, yes. And also, nowadays too, you can book online in advance with the new system that we put in place, 4UP. So that's really been helpful. But the identification card is important just to verify that they are indeed residents, to secure the great rates that we've put forth for the Kama'aina participants.
Okay. You know how like on our phones where you can just take picture of it and they don't need to physically hold it. Is that possible?
I can look into that. Right now, the physical card is what we're looking for. Yeah,
understood.
thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I know, of course, this fee, of course, helps with the in-house, as we discussed the last 2 hearings. And I know the physical card is needed, especially to do all the things you stated. But do you think going digital, even if it's like, even on a flip phone, small kind camera, photo, it might help with alleviate the prices needed to make the physical card later down the line?
Yeah, later down the line. Look, we're always looking at ways, and we're in discussion. So we put in a new system called 4UP, which I just alluded to, but that's been very helpful from the booking perspective. And we're looking at trying to utilize all of the technological benefits that system has. The first and foremost was to get it up and rolling, and it actually has been a very good system for that purpose of booking tea times. So we're in ongoing discussions with them on what else their system can do, and if there's a way to integrate, absolutely, we'd like to do that.
Okay, thank you. And I learned just last week that tea time is when you have to be on the actual green thing, yeah? The greens.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Members, any other questions for the director? Okay, all right, thank you very much. We will now proceed with remote testifiers. Thank you. Seeing we have, we have one registered testifier. We have Angela Young from CARES. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the Budget Committee, Angela, in strong support. And I'm just so curious about who initiated the conversation about fees. Yet I am in strong support as the Golf Courses Division operates and maintains 6 city and county of Honolulu golf courses. And the proposed amendment is for 3 fees, including fees for the golf carts. So the 3 fees will help to perhaps subsidize the costs of the operations of the golf course. And we are in strong support of generating profit. Otherwise, there may have to be an appropriation of funds for fees that if they don't generate a profit. Yeah, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. Anyone else online who wishes to testify? Okay, seeing none, we will now move forward to in-person testimony in the council chamber. I have no registered speakers for in-person, but is there anyone else who wishes to testify on this bill? Okay, with that, there being none, members, we are in discussion. Members, any other discussion? Okay, thank you very much. The chair recommends that Bill 2, 2023, CD1 be reported out for passage on 3rd reading. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving forward, we have Bill 7, 2023 CD1, which amends the revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021 relating to resident admission fees for the Honolulu Zoo. Back up again, we have the director. Oh, thanks for staying close by.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me back. This one as well, it's relating to admission fees for the Honolulu Zoo, as I had described in earlier presentations. We looked across the country at zoos that are similar in size as our great zoo, and in the $2 to $7 million range in revenue, and we were in the lower 10% of fees to enter the zoo. And so we looked at when was the last time we did a fee increase in 2011, and then we compared that also with what our expenses have done since 2011, and I think that this modest increase of $2 for both the adult and child is a reasonable step in the direction to continue to try and provide great care for our animals and also cover our expenses at the zoo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for the director? Okay, thank you. We will now proceed with remote testifiers. We don't have any registered testifiers remote registered testifiers for this, but I do see we have a hand up from Angela Melody Young for Bill 7. Bill 7. Angela?
Thank you so much, Chair. Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support. And this time, I am testifying on behalf of World Wildlife Fund. I have recently become a panda ambassador for the World Wildlife Fund, and I'm in the process of registering with the Ethics Commission. So the World Wildlife Fund, our mission is to conserve nature and to reduce the most pressing threats to the diversity of life on Earth. We collaborate with local communities to conserve natural resources we all depend on and build a future in which people and nature thrive. Together with collaborators of all levels, we transform markets and policies towards sustainability, tackle the threats driving the climate crisis, and protect and restore wildlife and their habitats. Some of the research I've quoted from previous testimonies in support of the Honolulu Zoo is from World Wildlife Fund. For example, when the Honolulu Zoo got the new rhinoceros, scientific name Diros bicornis, I testified with the research from World Wildlife. And the mission of Honolulu Zoo is to inspire stewardship of our living world by providing conservation education and meaningful experiences to our community. And the zoo emphasizes Pacific tropical ecosystems and traditional values of malama, caring, and ho'okipa, hospitality. And there are about 900...
Thank you, Angela. Your time is up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very
Testifying in
much.
support.
Thank you very much. Okay, members, any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Okay, with that, we will move forward to in-person testimony in the council chamber. Seeing none, we will now proceed with discussion. Members, any discussion on the Honolulu Zoo? Okay, council members say.
Director, can you give us a ballpark figure in regards to how much does the city and county of Honolulu subsidizes the zoo in their total operations costs?
Yeah, it's north of a few $2 million, and again, that's varies on years in attendance, right? And so this year, for example, we're probably running at about 25 to 30% ahead of last year's attendance. So that number will change, obviously, right? The additional dollars that we can generate offsets, as you know, we are our own special fund, and so we try to offset that as much as possible. There's also additional initiatives which have just taken off in the last few weeks. We're doing some advertising and marketing for the first time that will also be very beneficial. And I stood here before a few weeks ago talking about some promotional partners that we are working with that will also continue to get the message out to the community to visit our zoo. The more that turnstile can turn, the better off we are in generating and being self-supportive at the zoo. Thank you.
No, I'm just thinking out loud that do we have any vision in regards to this particular enterprise fund being self-sustaining? That would be a major goal and achievement on your behalf as the director of the department. And the thought would be, having this type of discussion pushes you ahead to look at it from a different point of view rather than always coming back to the city for real property tax funds. I bring this up because I think you folks are doing an excellent job. Some of my parish friends attended your gala this past Saturday, which was fantastic. And one of our colleagues was the auctioneer. And he did a fantastic job, Madam Chair. But I'm just bringing this up, Director, if you could think about it for next year's budget presentation, that there are goals and objectives we'd like to see if we could become self-sustaining on behalf of the zoo and shared with the members, that you are trying your best. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. That is part of the mission and want to work towards that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Papilio, I know that it's a great discussion, and I think, I don't know exactly which committee has your, I think it's, Parks and Enterprise Services. I think that's a good discussion to start having for all the components that Enterprise Services has, because you are in a unique position to really, I guess, be self-sustaining and whatnot, but like all those plans to be updated with the council, but also involve us in the plans because there's so many things happening and so many vendors that we need updates on. So I'll ask the respective chair for updates. Luckily, I'm a part of that committee, so I get to be a part of that discussion. So that's cool.
Yeah, thank you. It's again, definitely a goal of mine coming from private sector, to generate the funds that are necessary to operate the facilities. So the last 2 years from just a revenue perspective have actually probably been 2 of the best years that the department has had because the division heads, they have really focused in on how important that is to not only, develop more tee times, but also work towards making those turnstile turns at our different venues. So we're focused on that and working towards that regard. So happy to work collectively with everybody here to make that a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that with the ability with the lawn, and I'm sure there's like a 5 or however long year plan so that it doesn't disturb the like if we have evening events at the zoo, like with the birds moving a certain location, so it doesn't disturb their sleep time, then we can have maybe more zoo events and allow for that turnstile to turn more in the evening. So I look forward to like the summer events and actually one event that was super cool, if I may share with you, I think it was a few years ago, actually more than a few years ago, where they engaged some of the Pokemon Go playing at the Honolulu Zoo. So things like that are, I don't want to say trending, but things that are drawing people like out, like Pokemon Go did. I think having that at the park, excuse me, at the Honolulu Zoo was such a great initiative and brought people who haven't been to the zoo in decades to go out there. So I have to say, in my community, in my district, from Aiea to even Kalihi, Pokemon Go is still poppin'. I'm so serious, like hundreds of people in groups. So it will really draw the, sorry, that sounds really, I just wanted to share with you. Thank you. I got, okay, members, any other questions for this? Okay, all right, thank you. The chair recommends that Bill 7, 2023, CD1, be reported out for passage on third reading. Any discussion? Any objections? Okay, hearing none, so ordered. Okay, next up and back again, we have Enterprise Services. I just wanted to, I put the agenda so that you're in the same area though, so, okay. Resolution 23-66, it authorizes a transfer not to exceed $300,000 from the Department of Enterprise Services Auditoriums Activity salaries to the Department of Enterprise Services Auditoriums Activity for current expenses for the fiscal year 2023 to meet the budget shortfall in electricity costs due to increase in electricity costs and high usage of the concert hall for Broadway and Hawaii shows. With us from the department, we have Director Pupilo.
First off, Chair, thank you so much for placing that on the agenda consequentially here. That's appreciate that very much. Yeah, so in this case, there's combination, as everyone's aware, electricity rate increases. That's also in conjunction with the amount of kilowatts that we've used. The good news is that as we activate the buildings more, that means that we're also generating revenues that are necessary. And so in this case, I don't want to place all the responsibility on Broadway, but Broadway was a great addition to the buildings this past year, generated around $12 million in ticket sales, which in a market this size is really phenomenal. There's the final one that's going to be happening here in the month of May with Cats, but we've also had, as everybody knows, Hamilton and others prior to that. So the total economic impact of having a show like that into Hawaii, it doesn't stop just at our buildings with the $12 million in ticket sales and revenues that get generated, but there's also an economic multiplier that occurs in the community. And I won't use, I didn't run these calculations, but sort of some industry standards that they would use is about a 3-time multiplier when you factor in employment and you factor in wages, the union activations for the stagehands and elsewhere, and then also hotels. Obviously, people do not go to these shows in vacuums. There may be a dinner before and after. And so that really sort of compounds the revenue generation for the city and ultimately tries to offset maybe these increases that we've seen in the utilization of the building. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any questions for Director regarding the transfer of funds? Once again, this is from salaries to current expenses and electricity costs. Okay, Director Papuda, I was just wondering, Chair has a question regarding the use of facilities, and is it just for use and cleaning of a location? How does that work with DES and whoever is utilizing, let's say, the concert hall?
Yeah, so the more often the buildings are used, I want to make sure I got your question correct.
Well, so with whoever is, I guess, utilizing the concert hall, I'm sure there's a fee.
There's
right?
a usage fee, yeah.
Usage fee.
So
Yeah,
there's
what
a
does that
rental
cover?
fee or usage fee just to get into the building. But part of that is to cover, the space. In addition to that, then whatever additional labor they may need from us, whether it's ushers or additional staffing, then that's additional to the base fee usage for the building.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Another question is, of course, we have this transfer of fund, and then we were talking about possible discussions for different components of DES, and especially for Blaisdell. Of course, it was a very hot topic in the last administration, but I think maybe, hopefully in the next, Councilmember Toba, in your Parks and Enterprise Services Committee, if we could have an update on that and also how to maybe alleviate even the electricity costs, whether or not the rates do go up or not in a possible discussion. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, you
to see if we
bet.
can.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just quickly on that, a lot of our initiatives that are into the revitalization of the Blaisdell is, there'll be some visuals that people will definitely see, but a lot of it is getting into the infrastructure and being energy efficient in all that we do. And it's not only the power sources coming in, but also within, in and around the compound. So one example, we are also adding solar to the top roof of our parking structure that'll have some energy offsets. And then again, when you look at when the building was built in 1964 or thereabouts, and today, and the types of bulbs and electricity that can be used is much more efficient today, and that's a big part of the initiative that we're working on. Thank you.
Thank you, and I can't look forward to learning more about it down the line. Thank you. Members, any other questions for the director? Okay, Councilmember Say.
So Director, so DTC will incorporate solar now, I hope, because if energy is one of your bigger costs on the arena renovation, on the concert hall renovation, will there be Johnson Control projects?
Yes, as I just had mentioned, I'd have to get to you an exact date, but it's definitely in the schedule, and it's going on top of the parking structure, level 3 of the parking structure, where they'll put panels up on top there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, members, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Director. I really appreciate it. This one was our last one over here. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
With that, we will now proceed with remote testifiers. Are there any, we don't have any registered remote testifiers, but I do see that Angela Melody Young has her hand raised. Angela?
Hello, aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the Budget Committee. Angela Melody Young testifying in strong support of the auditorium. Is it planner salaries? So because I'm a safety coordinator on behalf of Kapalama Neighborhood Security Watch, which is a grassroots initiative of the Honolulu Police Department, which is a agency of the city. I am, of course, in support of a lot of the city's initiatives and the city's agendas. And when the Salary Commission's meeting got heard last week, I was in support of all the salary raises. And of course, this resolution is a resolution I'll be supporting, along with we also supported the prosecuting attorney, the city's prosecuting attorney.
Hi, Angela. Sorry, your time is up.
Program. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for supporting the transfer of funds for DES. Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Okay. With that, we will now move on to in-person testimony. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to testify? Okay. Seeing none, members, we are in discussion. Any discussion regarding this? Okay. Looking forward. Oh, I guess I have a question. Whose district is this one in? Your? Blaisdell. Yours. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I'm just putting it out there because I'm just making all these kind of suggestions. I realized I never know whose district it was. Okay. Councilmember Say's district. Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Parks and Enterprise Services Committee Chair Toba, for allowing me to make these recommendations. Thank you. Okay. With that, the chair recommends that Resolution 23-66 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you, Director. Okay, moving forward, we have Resolution 23-73, which authorizes the transfer not to exceed $230,000 from the Honolulu Emergency Services Department Ocean Safety Activity of current expenses to the Honolulu Emergency Services Department Ocean Safety Activity for equipment for the fiscal year 2023 to purchase 2 lifeguard towers for the Ocean Safety Division. With us from the administration, we have Doctor and Director of the Honolulu Emergency Services Department, Jim Ireland. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair, Council. Thank you. We do have some savings this year because of a lessened need for pandemic supplies and also some purchases we did with CARES funding in previous budget year. So we would like to use this money for towers. We have an ongoing tower replacement program, but we do have towers in more urgent need of repair. So I think this is a prudent use of monies that was allocated in last year's budget to buy the new towers. We do also have plans for opening additional towers in the next few years, which will also increase our need for towers. I think I've said in previous meetings with this body that we've identified beaches, Electric Beach, 1 or 2 North Shore beaches, Sharks Cove, possibly Keiki, as well as Kalama Beach as areas that will need towers in the future. This particular purchase is not necessarily for those new beaches, but replacing towers, existing towers that have become dilapidated and just through normal wear. So I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Okay, members, any questions for the director? Okay, we have Committee Vice Chair Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Just follow up on the last comment. So it sounds like there's not necessarily an identified location yet for where they're going to go, but it isn't necessarily new ones, but it's replacing ones that are already existing. Or do we know which beach parks they'll be at?
You know, there's approximately 41 towers out there now, and they have about a 10-year life. And so we've identified that we need to basically replace 4 towers a year. We've gotten a little behind on that in past years. So, you know, immediately we may need a little more than 4. So just adding additional towers allows us to maintain that maintenance schedule or even accelerate it a little bit.
Okay.
To answer your question, where those two would exactly go, I don't know.
Okay. I definitely appreciate all the work you're doing in attention to this for ocean safety and the whole department.
Thank
Mahalo,
you.
Chair.
Council Vice Chair Kiaina.
Thank you, Director. No question. I just want to say that with regard to the budget as it pertains to new towers, I've modified my request to more appropriately reflect the actual costs of both the tower as well as the manpower and for Kalama Beach Park. And I'm hoping that that will move forward to provide much needed safety for both residents and visitors in that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Toba.
Thank you, Chair. Director, just for transparency, so the 7 towers I counted as you were saying that we need. So what's happening right now and why we need those towers and how important are those towers in those areas right now?
Like I said, the towers have about a 10-year lifespan, and so with approximately 41 towers, hopefully someday to go to 45 and probably even more towers as we've identified more beaches that become popular with people. We just need to stay ahead of the tower replacement, and it hasn't always been 4 towers in years past. And so we have a little catching up to do. So, we want the lifeguards to obviously have comfortable, safe working conditions. In some beaches, they have very small towers. They call them 2-person towers.
Okay.
And with the added, need for vigilance on the beaches, we've converted some of those to 3-person towers. And so just upgrading the fleet, if you will, of the stations where people are working is very important. I don't know. Some people may remember, but these towers now are fiberglass, but back in the day, they were wood towers. And by back in the day, I mean more than 20 years ago. And they would become so well used that people would almost fall through the floor just because it's on the ocean and subject to the elements. So we just want to make sure they have the best equipment and working conditions for the lifeguards.
So I know on Kauai you have raised money to help buy, different equipment, even towers. So is there maybe a possibility of something like that to form so that, to help pay for some of the things that you guys are in need for right now? Is there a hui someplace that helping?
I mean, I think we would be open to anything. Obviously, there is a mechanism for people to make a gift to the city with the appropriate, paperwork and council approval. I think at one point remotely, there was a sponsor of a tower, and I think their logo was actually on the back of the tower, and that would be something that, potentially we could explore as well. I think it was one of the surf companies actually had their tower, emblazoned with their logo, but we allowed that and it stayed at one of our popular surfing beaches. So, these public-private type partnerships or donations to the city, I think are always welcomed if it can, better the equipment.
Awesome, because there's a lot of people out there that love to help and support. And if you're watching, contact Dr. Ireland or even my office. Thank you.
Okay, Committee Vice Chair Wire.
Mahalo, Chair. First, mahalo, Councilmember Toba. That would be awesome. And I know the community would be super grateful for that. So appreciate that offer. Director, I was just curious, given the conversation about the potential creation of new locations, and I know during budget we've been talking about the number of positions to fully staff the towers. I think it was around 30, not getting into the question of funding source and all that. So is that still the case? 30 would be kind of the positions to fully fill the 4 10s for the current towers, and then if we add some more, you'd have to add more staff. Is that a correct understanding?
It's a moving target, but 30 positions, and whether they're civil service contract, city-funded, contract federally funded, will, from my understanding, fill the 410 schedule out where we'll be good on the existing beaches. For every tower we want to add, and again, there's 4 that we've identified that we'd like to add. I don't have a time frame on that, but I've mentioned them. Probably 7 additional positions per tower. The other thing is we have 8 mobile jet ski teams, rescue teams on the island every day, and we would like to go to 12 at some point. Again, I don't know the timeline on that, but for each additional jet ski team, that's another approximately 7 people for that 7-day-a-week, 10-hour service. So when we're looking at the 4 tower adds times 7, 4 jet ski ads times 7, that's that group of positions, which is a little less than 30 each, 30 more for the, to round out the 410s. So, 90 positions, and that's not including any additional beaches we identify for additional towers. And there's some on the windward side, Hauula area up there that I think someday we'll need a tower. But it's just a matter of how fast we can hire, what's the appropriate level to raise the budget every year and to meet these demanding needs. More and more people are enjoying the beaches. Social media is now introducing beaches to people that kind of in the past nobody knew about. And so there's challenges there. And it's a safe, free way to recreate. And so we want to encourage people to go to the beaches, but we just, not only our department, but this body and the mayor's office have to keep up with the needs of meeting the demand.
Really appreciate that insight, Director. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Director, relating to the plan and methodology of choosing where and which towers to upgrade or update, would you be willing to, and I'm sorry, Councilmember Okimoto, I'm just like making suggestions all left and right over here, but provide that methodology to the Public Safety Committee and how you're deciding it, and a plan for which districts, so not districts, towers and beaches, just so that we know.
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, next we will now proceed, sorry, thank you, with remote testifiers. We don't have any registered remote testifiers, but I do see Angela Young's hand raised.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the Budget Committee. Angela Melody Young testifying in strong support of the transfer of funds to not exceed $230,000 for the Honolulu Emergency Services Department for the ocean safety activity to get 2 lifeguard towers for the Ocean Safety Division. So referring to a Hawaii News Now article in 2020, there were 2 parks that got 2 brand new towers, and one of them is overlooking the famous Bonsai Pipeline Beach, and the Honolulu Ocean Safety replaced the tower at Ehukai Beach Park. And the fiberglass towers were built in San Clemente, California, and were modified for the needs of the Hawaii's lifeguards. And those structures were nearly 20 years old, ocean safety officials say. And the replacement.
Thank you, Angela. Your time is up. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you very much. We don't have any other remote testifiers, so we'll proceed with in-person testifiers. Is there anyone else in the council chambers that wishes to testify, as I have no registered in-person testifiers? Okay, seeing none, we will now proceed with discussion. Members, we are in discussion. Any further questions for the director? Okay, thank you. I have a question, Director. What is the lifespan? I know that actually me and Councilmember Okimoto have been visiting different fire stations, and like the lifespan of certain emergency vehicles and facilities and whatnot. So I was wondering what's the lifespan, because and the last testifier just mentioned something was 20 years old or whatever. So
about 10 years.
10 years. Okay, got it. Thank you. Members, we are still in discussion. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Director. Okay. The chair recommends that Resolution 23-73 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay. Moving forward to Resolution 23-74, it authorizes the transfer not to exceed $380,000, $380,000 $1,498 from the Honolulu Emergency Services Department administration activity for salaries to the Honolulu Emergency Services Department emergency medical services activity salaries for the fiscal year 2023 to cover that projected shortfall in salaries due to the unanticipated increase in call volume and leave and overtime costs. With us, and thank you for joining us again, Director Ireland.
So this is money we're moving from the HESD administration to the EMS division to cover a salary shortfall. Again, call volume is up 20% from previous years. We're seeing the calls for service just really surging on some days, and that's multifactorial. We have the tourists back, we have still COVID. Unfortunately, we're going to sometimes multiple fentanyl overdoses every day. There was a story yesterday that HPD is now saying vehicle accidents are up to about 70 a day, which is about what pre-COVID numbers were. And the other thing is people are out enjoying themselves. They're out enjoying themselves hiking in the ocean, activities on motorcycles, but unfortunately, all those do have a little bit of risk and people are injuring themselves. And we're just seeing an increase in the need for EMS services. And that's one of the reasons we did put in our budget for next year, an increase in ambulance units. So this money will cover some shortfalls in EMS salaries.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for the director? Councilmember Say.
So, Director, what's the impact to your administration code, budget code? If you're taking a $380,000 cut, what impact are you having within that particular budget code administration?
We at the department level had some salary savings. Part of that was because some of the hiring was delayed in the department, and people that were scheduled that we thought were going to be hired in the beginning of the year, fiscal year, are being hired at the end of the fiscal year. So we had significant savings in the department, and so there won't be any impact at all.
So you mean to say I could ask or make a request on a floor draft that I can take out the $380,000 and use it for something else later on?
Unfortunately, no, because again, that salary savings was for people that are being hired really as we speak, and we had that put in the budget in July, and because of the delay in hiring, for a lot of reasons, that was a salary savings that we won't see next year. And a lot of those positions were related to billing, because now the city will be billing our own ambulance trips, and we expect somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 to $35 million in revenue recovered. And so we did need to set up our own internal billing mechanism to recover those funds.
Okay, I believe what you're saying, but sometimes the implementation and execution may not work with the state as far as transferring the EMS program to the city. That's number one. And number two, if there is a shortfall on the collection side, how do we make it up? Don't get me wrong, Director, you guys are doing a great job. And HFD is doing a great job as far as the medical calls that they go to. But my point is, if there is a shortfall on the collections, the account receivables, how do we make that up? And that's going to be coming out of the real property tax funds. But I just bring this up for public to know and understand that we are on top of what you folks are trying to do. Salary savings is a one-time savings. So it has to be incorporated into the 24 budget, Madam Chair. Thank you.
I think the other thing that could be something for discussion with this body in the future is we have adopted the state ambulance rate for what we charge people. But we are permitted to increase that rate, with collaboration with the council and approval by the council. We have chosen not to raise the rate over the state set rate, but that possibility exists. The other thing is we currently don't charge people who aren't transported to the hospital. So if you're in a motor vehicle accident, you get hurt, and we examine you, maybe we put a splint on, but the person says, oh, I'm just going to go to the hospital in my friend's car or what have you. We don't charge for that. We go to people's house and sometimes even administer medications, and then they decide not to go to the hospital. All those services are free. The state would allow us to bill for that, and there is a mechanism to do that. but that would be another way to generate revenue, maybe somewhere in $2 to $5 million a year for the city if we elected to do that. But the other thing I'm sensitive to is this is a taxpayer-funded service, although we do recoup from insurance companies, and I would hate to overbill or bill somebody excessively beyond the services we do. So I believe, especially for local residents, that there potentially, if we do that, should be some mechanism for mitigation or forgiveness if they, when you're between insurances or don't have the insurance. So all these are complex things that need further discussion. But to your question, there is mechanisms that we could generate more revenue if that was the desire.
Director, no, I'm just happy we're having this discussion because we have two freshmen who are on this, right now here that may not have known about what is transferred from the state to the county and the responsibilities that we have. Sometimes I feel like a lot of responsibilities and services are just dumped on the city and county of Honolulu, whereby I feel it's uncalled for if you're not going to fund us, because if it is a state unfunded mandate, that's not fair for us, because we are the ones that are being criticized now in trying to fund all services with the real property tax assessments that we have. And I haven't seen anybody that come out in support of this council. What are more important? Services, right? And these services, the state has delegated to the county. So it is a concern for me, because in the out years, I'm just bringing it up, that it is recorded, that we are talking about something that's going to impact this full council when we have to adopt the budget, Madam Chair. Thank you.
One thing, Council Member, I just may add that the transfer from the city to the state did allow for a much more flexible operational department. I mean, EMS now is so much more flexible, not having to run everything by the state that we do. It allowed us to open up the Waikele ambulance in December of last year with the hopes of this year getting an ambulance in Kalihi and also Kakako in July, pending our budget's approval. So while I agree that there was this additional potential strain on the city, it did allow us, just like the police department, ocean safety, and the fire department, are city-run and funded agencies. I think while it was nice to get the state funds, it also, I think, constrained our ability to respond to needs in the public. So that's all, but thank you.
Thank you, and I really appreciate your recommendation for further discussion, and I hope that we'll keep in contact so that we can include that. I think because it's related to budget, might be in my committee, so looking forward to scheduling that with you. Okay, Council Vice Chair Kia Aina.
Thank you. Director, I am very empathetic to your department with regard to the increased volume of calls, especially in my district. I was very saddened about the death of the visitor at the Lanikai pillbox. And I guess, and you're from Honolulu, so you know the challenges we face in the district. Do you believe that until the trail is improved, that the Lanikai pillbox trail should be closed by the Department of Land and Natural Resources?
That's a tough call, and I'm not sure if that's one for me to make. As long as I can remember, that's the only fatality that I can remember in the last 10 or 15 years on that trail, which is good. But I would say, the Honolulu Fire Department is probably up there at least twice a month doing rescues, perhaps more. Now, compare that to Cocoa Head and Diamond Head. They're there sometimes every day.
Okay.
So I don't have an answer for you. I don't think I'm qualified to say, but it is concerning when people, and again, it's mostly visitors because they underestimate a lot of our trails and they become lost or hurt or exhausted, not necessarily killed, but it is generating a lot of work for a lot of other city agencies, mostly the fire department, but also EMS and the police. And I think, again, that's maybe a discussion for another day, how we address all our trails and keeping people safe and not taxing resources, because when there's multiple rescues and ambulances having to go to these events for people who are, not healthy enough to hike the trails, it takes away the resources for the rest of the community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I will follow up with the Department of Land and Natural Resources, apart from the fact that I feel that it's dangerous because improvements have been allocated for improvements. It wouldn't have $1 million by the state. There's no parking. And I think that that's something that needs to be addressed. But in talking to HFD with regard to the recent rescue at Haiku Stairs, that was someone up there, 3 people, and someone just decided to jump with both feet off of the concrete structure up of Haiku Stairs. And as a result, because of the conditions, all 3 of the people had to be rescued. And it was very, very challenging because it was very windy. And so my concern has been the safety of our first responders, both at Haiku Stairs, and I know you guys have also have a lot of experience at Olomana. Anyway, thank you so much. I just was wondering, I was out of town at the time that it happened, and I was very sad, and I saw the article with the family that's here, and it's just, you know, it's something we need to think about in long term on how to provide public safety for both our kama'aina as well as our visitors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members. Any other discussion regarding this? Okay, thank you very much. With that, excuse me, Chair recommends that Resolution 23-74, the testimony. Yep, I finished. Be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you. Moving forward, we have Resolution 23-67, which authorizes the transfer of $1,866,779 from the provision for salary adjustments and accrued vacation pay activity for current expenses to the activities of the executive agencies to salaries to fund authorized pay increases and accrued vacation payouts. With us from the okay, we have Deputy Director Carrie Castle. How you doing? I mean, welcome, excuse me.
Good morning, Budget Chair, Vice Chair Wire. Carrie Castro, Deputy Director with Budget and Fiscal Services. We respectfully ask for a transfer of funds from our provisional for salary adjustments and accrued vacation. This is something that that comes around the same time every year. When we budget for our salary increases, oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, we do not budget for vacation payouts. And so when we have people long tenured employees that either retire and leave the city, we're then needing to pay out these large dollar amounts for which we didn't budget for. In addition, last year we didn't enter into collective bargaining agreements yet. They were not finalized. So we just had to estimate what the potential of those salary increases could be. And therefore, this ask of a transfer of $1.866 million is primarily due to collective bargaining increases over time and vacation payouts. The largest, as you can see, is with Honolulu Fire Department, and in that department, the biggest factor again is collective bargaining. I'm open for questions if there are any.
Thank you very much. Members, do we have any questions for the Deputy Director of BFS? Okay. Yes, Councilmember Stay.
So, Ms. Castle, do we have a sub-account in regards to vacation payouts based on the premise that if you have a population of city employees at 65 years and older, we would know how much it may may be needed to do the payout. Has BFS looked at something like that? Or is it DRH's responsibility? I'm trying to figure out if we can create a sub-account so that it just doesn't come. You're not going to have the provisional vacancy position account pretty soon if we're drawing down more and more. And I think you have to share with the budget chair the fact that when we do something like this, what positions are we terminating or wiping out? That money is attached that was in the provisional vacant account. That's the concern. So I'm happy you are sharing with the council the impact of collective bargaining, number one. We don't even realize, I thought there was a ceiling on vacation payouts, or is it 2 months or 3 months of vacation that you can accumulate? And then after that, it goes to family leave and all these others, or?
Deputy Director, may I have you press on? Thank you.
On the vacation payout, when it comes to, again, people that are long tenured employees that have accumulated vacation over the course of their experience.
There's no cap to the number of days, or?
Every year, there is a cap that they have to be able to utilize their vacation.
So basically, you would calculate already, you would know. For Calvin, say he has his maxed out his, vacation, number of vacation, everything excess gotta go. I lose it, or I give it to family leave, etc. But I'm just trying to figure out how we can calculate the dollar amount for county employees who have maxed out on the vacation payout.
I believe that with the data that is available in our human resources, there likely could be a calculation. But again, for the budget process, we do not budget for vacation payouts due to retirements or separations. So it all goes into the provisional. And last year, or FY23, again, because we were in the midst of collective bargaining, our provisional was actually much higher, $37 million, versus in FY24, our provisional is about $8 million. Because now that we have the numbers, we can account for them in the budget for 24 on an actual basis.
Okay, Madam Chair, the only reason why I bring this up, if you look at the account of the funds, a great deal of them came from real property tax. So, you get solid waste, liquor commission, that was small amounts, but the bigger amounts were general funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions for Deputy Director Castle? Okay, Deputy Director, I was wondering, of course, the discussions and the last bargaining unit discussions have occurred already. Are we able to plan, and is it already in this current proposed budget to account for the increases relating to collective bargaining for this at least this upcoming year?
Yes, that is correct, Budget Chair. For FY24, those increases have been reflected since we now know what they are.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. I do also want to know that was explained in the departmental budget communication shared to the budget amendment responses too for certain amendments, proposed amendments from the council members. So thank you. I just wanted to have that noted as well publicly. Okay, okay. We will now proceed with remote testifiers. And before that, I just want to mention, we're going to be going back to the last item after we're powered this agenda item because the budget chair didn't do the testimony for agenda item number 7. So that's what she gets for trying to be have a long agenda. Okay, so with that, we'll continue with the remote testifiers for agenda item number 8, once again, which is resolution 23-67. Okay, we don't have any registered remote testifiers, but I do see Angela Young for resolution 23-67.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the Budget Committee. Actually, I was going to testify on the last item, number 7.
Okay, we'll take you up on that when I get back to it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify for Resolution 23-67? Okay. With that, is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify? I don't have any registered in-person testifiers. Okay, seeing none, members, we are in discussion. In discussion for Resolution 23-67. Councilmember Say? Okay, all right. Thank you, members. Chair recommends that Resolution 23-67 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections? Reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Chair would like to go back to agenda item number 7 to our remote testifiers. We will now proceed with remote testifiers. Once again, this is agenda item number 7, which is the transfer of funds from HESD administration activity salaries to EMS activity salaries. So I don't have any registered testifiers, but as noted, we have Angela Young as a remote testifier. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the Budget Committee. Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of Kapalama Neighborhood Security Watch in my volunteer capacity as a safety coordinator for our community. Testifying in strong support for the request to authorize the transfer for the Honolulu Emergency Services Department. And it's for the salaries for 2023 to cover the projected shortfall in salaries due to the unanticipated increase in call volume and leave and overtime costs. So as I have mentioned before previously in the Salary Commission, I testified for raises for the directors and deputy directors. Running city departments is demanding and stressful and requires a high degree of technical expertise, commitment, and sacrifice of time. And the magnitude of the scope of responsibility.
Thank you, Angela. Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none, proceeding with in-person testifiers for agenda item 7. Any? Okay, all right, seeing none. Thank you, members, for allowing me to go back to agenda item number 7. Moving forward with agenda item number 9. We have Resolution 23-68, which authorizes a transfer not to exceed $2,903,701 from the provision for energy cost activity of current expenses between the activities of the executive agency's current expenses to cover fuel and electricity shortages. With us from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, we have Deputy Director Carrie Castle with us.
Good morning again, Budget Chair Cordero, Vice Chair Weyer, and distinguished council members. Yes, we respectfully request the transfer of $2.9 million from the provision for energy costs to the various executive agencies. As you can see, the largest increase that we're showing here is on behalf of the Department of Facilities Maintenance. Their increase is largely due to the price of fuel. And I believe you all know that the rates increased quite a bit over the last year compared to prior year. In addition to fuel costs, we also saw a rise in electricity rates with Hawaiian Electric over the last fiscal year.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? We have Councilmember Toba.
Thank you, Chair, Director. Are there any cost-saving measures we can put in place to curb the rising cost of energy?
Oh, yes, there are. And we are, through our climate change and sustainability resiliency team, always looking for opportunities to save energy. and look at, I guess, ways of doing things differently so that we can utilize less energy and, less fuel, electricity, and more natural resources.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Deputy Director Castle, I was wondering, for the amounts for each of the departments receiving the transfer of funds from the provision of energy costs, how many vehicles or how many facilities is stated for like the DFM's 1.127, $575, and just for example, like what's the amount there?
Okay, I apologize, Budget Chair, but I do not have that level of detail down to the vehicle level, but I could obtain that to the best of our ability to provide that information back to you.
Okay, thank you. And I know it's not all for vehicles, and sometimes it's going to be for some infrastructure kind stuff, and also different facilities for related to the automotive and equipment services and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a combination of not just fuel costs, but electricity costs as well. It's something that's very difficult to gauge because the cost is a matter of volume and rate, and we can't control rate. We can control to some extent volume but it's really based on the needs of the public. I mean, when it comes to public service, whether it's emergency medical services, their volume is up. Therefore, overall, their costs are up. So as a whole, again, most agencies experience increases due to either rising electricity rates, as well as usage, and fuel costs.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Talbot.
So basically, we're saying, Deputy, that we will be eating this cost until we figure out sustainability. You think part of the reason was the high cost of energy because of the coal plant shutting down?
We're seeing actually consumption coming down a bit,
Okay.
which will definitely help us.
Right.
But it's not. We've been looking at energy savings like for years. This is not something new that we're only now starting to look at.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think when it comes to all the various opportunities that are available to lower our energy costs and get natural resources in place via electrification or whatever the case may be, we are looking at that.
Yeah. I know we have a goal, right? 2045. And we've been talking about this for the last couple of years. And, this is a lot of money. And if our goal is to get there, I mean, it's just kind of mind-boggling that we already been talking about this for years. And, when in the meantime, until we put solar and do all the things, auto modification, we're going to eat this cost. Just comment.
Thank you. Members, any other questions for the Deputy Director of BFS? Okay, thank you, Deputy Director. We will now proceed with remote testifiers. We don't have any registered remote testifiers. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Okay, seeing none, we don't have any in-person registered testifiers, but is there anyone else who wishes to testify? Okay, seeing none, members, we are back to discussion. Any further discussion, questions for the director, deputy director, excuse me? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. The chair recommends that Resolution 23-68 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Okay, discussion by Councilmember Say.
Madam Chair, with your indulgence, may I go with strong reservations at this point?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. With reservations from council members Say. Any other reservations, objections? Any? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, with that, we are moving forward with agenda item number 7. Resolution 23-71, which authorizes the transfer not to exceed $1,362,286.16 from the Department of Environmental Services Collection System Maintenance Activity of current expenses to the Department of Environmental Services Administration Activity current expenses for the fiscal year 2023 to comply with a memorandum of agreement for the payment of $946,402.75 for billing services to the Board of Water Supply for billing periods from April 1, 2023 to June 30, 2023, to comply with a memorandum of agreement for payment of $415,883.41 for wastewater service charges to Hawaiian American Water for billing periods from December 31, 2022 to June 30, 2023. With us from the administration, we have Department of Environmental Services Director Roger Babcock.
Good morning, committee chair and committee members. Roger Babcock, Director, Department of Environmental Services. We take care of the wastewater, and the requested transfer is to move money in to pay some bills that we have. Our wastewater billing is done for us by the Board of Water Supply, and we compensate them for providing that service on an annual basis. In addition, at the far end of East Honolulu wastewater collection system in Kuli'o'o, there's a wastewater pump station, and we do not pump that into our system. It's pumped to the Hawaii American Water wastewater plant in East Honolulu. And so the city pays them for treating that wastewater. So that's the nature of the charges.
Thank you, Director Babcock. How often, does this happen every year for us to submit, and how much has it increased from last year for this transfer? Or, billing, excuse me, the billing for both.
Yeah, so in terms of the billing, my understanding is that the billing service provided by Board of Water Supply, actually their vendor, has not changed. The amount has not changed, as well as the sewer service rate from Hawaii American Water has not changed. The amount was budgeted originally, but in our budget request, but internally to the city at some point as part of a CD, the amount in this account, general service, let's see, it's the other services account was decreased so that there wasn't enough money to pay for these bills this year.
Okay, which of course is because of the, which results in the transfer.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, understood. Members, any other questions? Councilmember Say.
My basic question would be why? What happened?
Yeah, council member, unfortunately I don't have a good answer for that. I think it was somewhere during the budget process last year. Money was moved around within the administration, and this account was depleted by this amount.
And one final question, Madam Chair. Director, I'm not putting you on the spot, but this MOA was adopted or approved when? The MOA with the Board of Water Supply and American Water?
Yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, I don't know the exact, have an exact answer, but for as long as the city has been billing sewer fee, it has been done in conjunction with the Board of Water Supply through an MOA to provide that service. So when you get your bill from, it shows both items on there. So it's been from the beginning, E&V has never done that in-house.
So the question next for me is that can't BWS just do administrative costs, which is the 5% of what the fee is? It's just a paperwork tied to my billing and that I have in regards to the water usage, which is flat, and then the set fee for a sewer. Why so expensive for BWS? What is the arrangement?
Yeah, so we have a memorandum of agreement, and my understanding is that it covers the cost of their contractor to provide the service. So it is, there's a small calculation part, but most of it is the generation of the invoices, mailing, collection services.
I'll take that under advisement. It's just that you're just robbing, BW is just robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's the way I see it. They're both county agencies to some degree. One is semi-autonomous, one is with the city. But when I get my statement, that's all it is. It's a paper, just like a postcard. So to pay this kind of amount, maybe you should ask Mr. Lau if he can explain to us why. But thank you very much for your thoughts.
Sure.
Thank you, and that's a good suggestion for that explanation, and noted, Councilmember Say. All right, any questions? Okay, with that, we'll proceed with remote testifiers. When we don't have any registered remote testifiers, but I see Angela Young.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair of the Budget Committee, Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support. So ENV collects and treats about 103 million gallons of wastewater, along with gathering our trash from the curb and disposing of it 6 days a week. And while ENV provides this support, the department's mission is to work in collaboration with the residents and the visitors of City of Honolulu. The department's mission is to work in collaboration with the residents of the city and county of Honolulu to make sure our island has a clean, safe environment. ENEV works with businesses, individuals, and sister agencies to foster a sense of joint responsibility for our INA to protect the children. So I have to go back and correct that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Okay.
Chair, sorry.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let me announce first that we're moving forward. Okay, with that, is there any registered remote testifiers? Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to testify in person? We don't have any registered in person. Okay, members, we are in discussion. Council Vice Chair Kia Aina.
Thank you. Director, you and I have been in discussions with regard to the increased level of bacteria at Kailua Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant, and I've been seeing tons of notifications, and I'm deeply concerned. I think I need to get a better explanation. We can talk offline, but also I've been inundated with inquiries from constituents who are also concerned because while we're being notified, it seems to be a lot, so I don't know if it's a big problem. People are concerned about their safety in the water, so I just wanted to flag that for you, and hopefully we can have a follow-up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we do see that notification often. Yeah. Thank you, members. Any other discussion? Okay. And Director, I hope that, I know that Councilmember Say made a recommendation about, and then you mentioned about further discussion relating to information. And of course, I know BWS isn't here, but if we can maybe get that information, even if it's via communication, that would be important. Okay, thank you. The Chair recommends that Resolution 23-71 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving forward, we have an agenda item number 11, Resolution 23-72 authorizing the transfer of not to exceed $70,000 from the Department of Facility Maintenance Administration Activity current expenses to the Department of Facility Maintenance Road Maintenance Activity Equipment for the fiscal year 2023 for the purchase and delivery of 3 storage containers for to the new sidewalk property ordinance sidewalk. Wait, what? To the new sidewalk property ordinance, sidewalk nuisance ordinance space yard to store personal property during enforcements. Members, we also have a proposed hand-carried CD1 OCS 2023-0394-5-1-2023 at 3:34 p.m. submitted by myself that makes the following amendments. It A, deletes the first whereas clause. B, amends the source activity from the Department of Facility Maintenance as DFM, administration activity to the DFM road maintenance activity. Once again, it deletes the reference of administration activity to road maintenance activity. C, amends the source of funds from the highway fund to the general fund. And D, amends the be it resolved clause to correct the title of the head of the Department of Facility Maintenance to read the Chief Engineer of the Department of Facility Maintenance. And E, makes miscellaneous technical and substantive amendments. With us from the administration, we have the Acting Director of Department of Facility Maintenance, Warren Mamizuka.
Hi, good morning, Budget Chair Cordero, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and members of the Budget Committee. We kindly ask for your consideration for the proposed CD1. This is kind of like long overdue. We've been trying to relocate our SPO yard for the past couple of years. We finally got them moved in at the ending of March to the new location at 1237 Honolulu Street, located directly under the H1 freeway on Pi'ikoi. So, we just ask for your consideration for approval. Thank you.
Members, any questions for the Acting Director? Councilmember Stay.
Thank you. Acting Director Mamizuka, is it possible to make a request to the state legislature or the Department of Health or one department that can help us finance this program? Our surplus property ordinance, our nuisance ordinance, they always call the city up for take care of the homeless on each of the streets. We do it. We do a fantastic job. Don't get me wrong. But in a week's time, they're back. And I think the state should pay a part of it too, because they're the beneficiaries of the services that we're providing. Any thoughts on this kind of a discussion? Because, more and more, we're getting the brunt of the criticism that we're not taking care of the homeless. And this is just one activity out of many as a continuum of care, from HPD to CORE to HONU to the surplus ordinance to nuisance ordinance. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, they're going to do the Kauhale. Great. I know it's going to be successful because we have to have the hope and faith that it will be successful. But I'm just asking, can you folks not make a request for a resolution to the 2024 legislature to help the city? We're footing the whole bill. Plus, we're also trying to do affordable housing, homeless shelters. I'm just frustrated because it's 2 years, 5 months on the job. And people in the district are saying, I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything in regards to the homeless situation. And I feel bad. So I bring this up very sincerely and honestly, and I hope my colleagues across the street is hearing what I'm saying. Or is it part of society that we're going to have the homeless situation? And if we do, I accept it. And that's my job to tell the general public, please accept the homeless.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that's something that we'll have to go back and discuss with administration to see how we can come up with a resolution to request assistance or funding from the state. It is tough for our guys. They're out there every day performing enforcements. A lot of our crew members, they actually know these people by name. They're on a first name basis, and I've been out with our staff, on some of the enforcements, and as soon as they leave, like some places, like 30 minutes later, they're back. Some other places, it might take another, take like up to 2 hours, yeah. And it is sort of discouraging, but we have a job to do, and as long as it's with the city, we plan on continuing. But yeah, that's a discussion that we'll have with administration. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Say. And I just want to bring us back, and this is a great discussion because that Councilmember Say brought up, because when the mayors went to the money committees at the state legislature, and I was actually given some heat about it, even just yesterday, about how Honolulu never asked for anything to the state legislature. Not that we have to or should, but just that we didn't, and that there's no request for collaboration. And I hope that that notice that is noted for the city administration. So I do hope that we support your advocacy to the city administration to hopefully make requests for, I don't want to say ask, but collaboration with the state legislature because we all live in the same place here. And so, yeah, support you for that. Okay, members, any other questions? Okay. Oh, I have one question regarding I know you and I had a lot of discussions about this, and of course, actually didn't really know that it was going to be 40-foot storage containers. And is it just for storage, or is it also going to be transformed, into office space, or utilizing it for administrative offices?
No, actually, we have a office building there. It's a container office along with another 40-foot container that has a shower and break room for crew members. So the 3 40-foot containers will have 2 roll-up doors each with ventilation, and it's solely for the purpose of the stored property during enforcements.
Okay, thank you. And I know that the proposed CD1 that I have here is to clarify the different source of funds as well as the activities. Do you have any comments on that, or do you support the amendments?
I support the amendments. Yeah, we can get that done. But just for clarification, as the acting director for Department of Facility Maintenance, since I'm not a professional engineer, I won't be able to add that chief engineer title. Yeah.
Okay, understood. And is there, I guess, okay, sorry. For relating to the chief engineer discussion, would we be able to add, would you be open to adding or the designee by the mayor? Is that possible?
Yeah, we can do that. The acting chief engineer will be the acting deputy chief, Tyler Sugihara.
Oh, okay. Or we can just keep it as such and then have that. Okay, never mind then. No need. And then as long as you get someone that can assist you with this and have someone that reports as the engineer. Okay, never mind then. I take that suggestion back then. Okay. Thank you again. With that, we will now proceed with remote testifiers. We don't have any registered remote testifiers, but I do see the hand raised from Angela Young. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the Budget Committee. Angela Melody Young testifying in strong support of DFM. So DFM runs the Stormwater Division branch, and that operates the Clean Water Hero events. It's a volunteer event which helps to clean up the city. And I personally have participated in a lot of the Clean Water Hero events. In fact, our church, Chinese Lutheran Church, is going to be coordinating an event because we adopted a block in Liliha. And last year there was 100 people who came out from our church to support the city and to clean up the city. So, you know, I actually just invited someone from the neighborhood board to the church cleanup. And yeah, so we're in strong support of DFM. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And hi, Mr. Donald Guerrero. That's my neighbor right there. Okay. All right. Hi. Okay. Thank you, Angela. We don't have any else online. I would like to ask if there's anyone who's in person that wishes to testify. We don't have any registered testifiers. Okay, with that, moving forward, we are now in discussion. Any discussion on this? Councilmember Say, I think this is in your district, yeah, Lunalilo Street. Underneath the freeway by Lunalilo Street. Got it, understood.
And with their presence, the homeless are not there on P.E. Koi,
Oh, okay.
underneath the freeway.
Okay, well, we hope they got assistance and services and offer.
They relocated to the Bolodrome, behind the Bolodrome on Eisenberg.
Oh, yeah. I remember the Bolodrome. Does that age me? Okay, all right.
And Madam Chair, they're at Inha Park, and Alawai Park, and Makiki Park. That's why it's so important that all elected officials, state and county, be a part of this collaboration. It seems like we are the ones footing the bill. So that's why I share with the members and the audience the frustration that I am going through. So maybe for Kalihi, you're lucky, not many homeless encampments.
Of course there are, but thank you very much. I appreciate sharing that, and I actually want to go back to the finding out when the money committees do meet and when the mayors, different mayors go and make that presentation. I don't know how we can get to be a part of those discussions. It took us by surprise, of course, when we got that feedback about Honolulu no need nothing, but hopefully we can be a part of that discussion. So thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, thank you very much. Chair recommends that Resolution 23-72 be amended to the hand-carried CD1. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? The resolution has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 23-72 CD1 be reported out for adoption What? Okay. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay. Okay, we're more than halfway done. Okay, next item, agenda item number 12, Resolution 23-77, which authorizes a transfer not to exceed $1.3 million from the Department of Parks and Recreation grounds maintenance activity, current expenses to the Department of Parks and Recreation, Recreation and Services activity, current expenses for the fiscal year 2023 to meet the budget shortfall in electricity costs. From the department, from the administration, we have Deputy Director Pu'u. Welcome.
Hi, aloha, Council Budget Chair.
Hello, I love your hair, by the way.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Aloha. And Council members, DPR respectfully requests the approval of transfer of funds from our grounds maintenance budget to our recreation services budget and current expenses to help cover our shortfall in our electricity bill. As Budget Deputy, BFS Deputy Director Carrie Castle explained earlier, we have seen an increase in our electric rates from HECO. I believe it's about 24% in the last year. And so we estimate we'll be about 1.2 million short, so we want to be able to cover with 1.3. It is coming from our grounds maintenance budget. We are anticipating savings on our water bill, and so a chunk of that would actually, we want to utilize that to help cover our electricity bill.
Thank you, Deputy Director. My question is relating to, how we have the NORESCO, first off, will the NORESCO contract to address certain concerns relating to this, will that help alleviate these costs, or are these not the parks that have the NORESCO contract?
Well, our electricity costs are all of our parks and facilities, and unfortunately, the usage, like the high usage for parks, is when it's peak electricity time, right? It's after school, it's in the evening, our gyms, our recreation centers, and our fields. So we do have our NORESCO Energy Savings Project. It just kicked off earlier in this fiscal year. And we do anticipate savings over the long term. The energy savings projects include changing to LED lighting, weather-sensitive irrigation systems, our pool pumps, and more efficient plumbing fixtures. We have just started, though, with NORESCO. These projects we anticipate that these projects will be completed by the end of 2024, calendar year, I believe. The wonderful thing is that, so the improvements are going to happen across 49 parks. So 49 of them will be experiencing these changes. Is that we are, anyone is able to go onto our DPR website and be able to look at a map and see which parks these projects are happening in and check on status of either anticipated, completed, or in progress projects. And that's readily available to public. But yes, we do anticipate savings over the next years. However, part of these savings will be used to cover the cost of supplies, labor, all of the projects that are happening now. So it'll be an annual cost for DPR. But in addition to that, we do anticipate additional savings to the
It's
city.
good to hear. Thank you. And I know you mentioned that it's available publicly regarding that. And can you explain where or share where?
It's on our website. So, and which, we're redoing, the city's redoing our website. The easiest thing I would say is just Google, City and County of Honolulu Department of Parks and Recreation Energy Savings, and you'll find a bunch of articles and be directed to the link.
Okay, that's good, and hopefully we can be around to hear about the implementation of at 2024, end of 2024, and then of course, when do you anticipate to see, or are going to look at the savings monthly or quarterly, or are you going to look at it end of the next calendar year? I don't know how best to look at that data.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah,
but we get our electric bill every month, so hopefully we will see that monthly. But I can do some research and come back.
Of course, I know that, once again, you said end of 2024 is when we anticipate that. And of course, we'll look at the Google. And then, sorry, members, any questions? Okay, Council Vice Chair Kia Aina.
Chair, thank you for your question. That was actually going to be my question, because I know this was a difficult decision for you to make. I don't think you would have wanted to take it out of ground maintenance activity. Having said that, can I ask how is ground maintenance going to be impacted? Because that's a bread and butter issue for our communities. And I know in Waimanalo, a lot of the residents on the beach lots, they kokua because of the pileup of the trash on at the different rights of way. So how is this going to impact our ground maintenance island-wide?
Thank you for asking that question. So our water bill comes out of the grounds maintenance category, and our electricity bill comes out of our recreation services category. So as I shared, we anticipate savings from our water costs about $900,000.
Okay.
So that's where a nice big chunk of it will come from. Other things though that come out of our grounds maintenance budget is our play court resurfacing, play apparatuses, and tools, safety equipment, things like that. So there will be an impact, we hope minimal. And then 1.3 is the max. We anticipate it would be maybe $100,000 cheaper, less. So
okay, it won't impact manpower.
No, contract GKs do actually come out of this budget as well, but no, it won't impact what we have in place.
And of course, I am a strong supporter of the transient accommodation tax in next year's budget. Please work with the Budget and Fiscal Services as well as the City Council to make sure that next year's budget, you can, on top of your base funding, use that to help in the improvement of the quality of life of our city parks. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Okay, thank you. We'll proceed with remote testifiers. We don't have any registered remote testifiers, but I do see Angela. Angela, hopefully you're in a quiet location. Okay.
I am in a quiet location. Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair.
I'm testifying on behalf of and in strong support of Parks and Recreations. So recently, our grassroots, in coordination with our another church I attend, Hawaii Chinese Harvest Alliance Church, next door to City Church, was a part of the art contest that was hosted from Parks and Recreations. And this is what the children did. So, you know, just want to really support any efforts to educate the children. And hence, we are in support of Parks and Recreations and their activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. We don't have any other remote testifiers, so proceeding with in-person testifiers. Anyone else who wishes to testify, as there are no registered in-person testifiers. Okay, seeing none, members, we are in discussion. Okay, Councilmember Say.
Chair, personally, I think the parks play a major role in trying to address today's major medical issues that we have in the state of Hawaii and the county of Oahu. From the increase in domestic violence at home to the increase in youth suicide, parks play a major part. I'm just sad that we're taking 1.3 million out of the grounds maintenance. Madam Chair, for me, Chair Cordero, for me, I have almost 12 to 14 parks, recreational, passive, family, what you call those parks where they grow, agricultural crops, etc. But you folks have done a great deal of getting the people acclimated post-COVID. I truly hope the 1.3 million for ground maintenance, like what Councilmember Kiana said, will not impact the overall operations and services. Because 1.3 million just for this division must be a major impact. So maybe when the budget deliberations start once more, Madam Chair, you can look into it. And I don't know where to begin to say where are you going to cut this way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members, any other discussion? Okay, thank you. The chair recommends that Resolution 23-77 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, moving forward to agenda item number 13, Resolution 23-78, authorizing the transfer of $4.1 million from the Administrative Services Activity Salaries to the Office of the Chief of Police, Patrol, Special Field Operations Investigations, and Support Services Activity Salaries, and $140,000 from Support Services Activity current expenses to Support Services Activity equipment for fiscal year 2023 to cover salary shortages and upgrades to the radio system. With us from the administration, we have Major, and I hope I don't say this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Elgin Arcaro. Oh, hi, is that correct, or please correct me?
Elgin Arcaro.
Elgin Arcaro, okay, perfect. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Chair Cordero, council members. My name is Elgin Arcaro, HPD Major Finance Division. Humbly requesting passing of Resolution 2378 for the movement of funds from salaries from Admin Bureau to other activities in HPD.
Okay, thank you. Major, I noticed that these activities are separate activities, yeah, Chief of Police, Patrol, Special Field Operations, Investigations, and Support Services, yeah?
That's correct.
Okay, would you be able to explain like what is covered in each of the activities? And for what? I mean, I know it's salaries, but I guess, the total for each of the activities?
For the movement of salaries to the Office of the Chief of Police, we're requesting 1.6 million to be transferred from admin to the Office of the Chief of Police. The movement of 100,000 from admin to patrol in salaries. The transfer of 200,000 from admin to special field operations. The transfer of $900,000 from admin services to investigations activity, again in salaries, and the transfer of 1.3 million from administrative services to support services activity. I forgot, and also the transfer of funds of $140,000 from current expense in support services to equipment category C in support services.
Okay, so do we not know the breakdown for each activity of chief of police and patrol, then special field operations?
I don't have the exact details with me right now, Budget Chair.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Members, any questions for Major? Okay, Councilmember Say.
Would this be part of collective bargaining, Major?
Yes, it is. Council members say about $5 million was spent last quarter to cover the retro payments for bargaining unit 12.
Thank you, because I want the general public to realize where our taxes are going. It's going to you folks. And people don't understand that collective bargaining is every 2 years. And that's the scary part for me. That's why I've been harping with the state legislature. Please support Oahu. We are the engine of the state in generating revenues on the general excise tax, their income tax, their transit accommodation tax, etc. But I'm just wanting to make the audience who is here and the public who's watching, how much we spend on our real property taxes to support our first responders. And that's why this morning I was critical with Dr. Ireland on the EMS, the ambulance service, the lifeguard services, the fire department, and the police department. How much you folks play a major role. And then sometimes we don't get any appreciation of the services we are providing from the state. So I'm happy I did pose this question because at least the answer now is all going to collective bargaining. And I think the general public should be aware, and the members of this council, that it is a given that you have to support, meaning collective bargaining every 2 years. So thank you very much for your discreet and really honest answer. Thank you.
Council Vice Chair Kia Aina.
Can I ask if this will impact the ability to fill the vacant positions for HPD officers on the ground, boots on the ground?
The efforts for recruitment is ongoing, Council Member. One of the, for the budget for fiscal year 23, the salaries were calculated using fiscal year 22 rates.
Okay.
So when the bargaining unit was approved in July, City Council already approved the fiscal year 23 budget. So that's why we're in this current fiscal year, we're trying to catch up with the salaries to meet those last 2 years.
So the answer is it will not impact your ability or impede your ability to be able to have the funds necessary to fill the vacant positions. Recruitment, of course, is a challenge, but you have the funds necessary if you had to, if you were successful in recruitment to be able to pay the HPD officers, correct?
That's correct, Councilmember.
I just want to make clear because there's a lot of misinformation in the community that the City Council is not supportive of boots on the ground and fully funding our HPD officers. That just happened at a neighborhood board meeting in Kailua about 2 months ago. So I just want to make sure that this doesn't impact that. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, members, any other discussion? Okay, thank you. Let's see here. We will now proceed with remote testifiers. There are no registered remote testifiers, but I do see Angela. Angela, can you go in somewhere quiet? It's super loud over there.
Is it? Okay. Okay, I can't tell. Is it now? How about now? Is this okay?
Okay, just proceed, please.
Okay. So I'm testifying in strong support of the Honolulu Police Department and the patrol, special field operations, investigations, and support services activities. So as a safety coordinator, I am, an avid fan of the police operations and, of course, also the judiciary operations. So as a safety coordinator, testifying in strong support of the police, just as I did for the city's prosecuting attorney for the implementation of various programs, such as the Victims and Witness Kokua Services Program to support victims of sexual abuse and violent crimes who are going through the criminal justice system. So we are just in strong support of the Honolulu Police Department and other safety initiatives and efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. There's no one else that wishes to testify remotely, and we don't have any registered in-person testifiers. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify in person? Seeing none, members, we are back to discussion. Any other discussion on this item? Okay, Major, my question is relating to, like, when you see these transfers, I mean, does it come out of the blue, or like, are you planning for this? Because this is a lot of transfers, yeah, from different activities, 2 different activities. And is it reflected in the proposed budget for HPD?
Some of the vacancies in the police department, the funding for those positions were put back into PVP. And since then, there's been some hiring. So a lot of the shortfalls is from the hiring of those contract positions and full-time employees. The budget for fiscal year 24 does reflect the updated BU contract salaries, and some of the shortfalls, the projected shortfalls, were from lump sums from retirements as well, and those are difficult to budget because we just don't know when people are going to retire.
Oh, okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Council members say.
Major, I thought nobody was going to retire with that, huge increase in the 4-year contract. I thought that was the fruit that would have the senior members continue on rather than retire. But it's okay. The only question I have so your 23 base budget is going to be the same, and on top of that, the next year, 24, it will reflect the $4 million as far as increase in salaries tied to collective bargaining. Am I correct? So like for this fiscal year 23 that we're in, you're transferring, right, the $4 million for collective bargaining. I just wanted to ask if that $4 million that was in this year's budget will be the same on top of the request that you folks are making for the 24 year, which is the collective bargaining side. You know what I'm trying to get at? Your base budget of 23, we're taking $4 million out to pay for collective bargaining in the transfers.
So we had there's some savings in admin bureau that we're using to cover all what we paid in the previous quarters. So that's why we.
Okay, got it.
I just want to make sure I could understand your question, sir.
Okay, no, don't worry. I'm not going to open up a can of worms.
Okay, thank you, members. Any other discussion items? Excuse me. Okay, with that, Chair recommends that Resolution 23-78 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. And hopefully, maybe next time, as a suggestion, because it was so many activity codes in one resolution, just a little more info, even in the cover letter, which is actually a pretty in-depth letter than the other transfer of funds that we get. Just a little more info, because once again, plenty activity codes that was listed. Yeah. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving forward, we have agenda item number 14, Resolution 23-80, authorizing a transfer not to exceed $924,943.52 from the Department of Transportation Services, Transportation Mobility Activity, current expenses to the Department of Transportation Services Administration Activity, current expense for fiscal year 2023 to procure a 1.5-year software subscription subject to available funding that supports bus and rail service integration. With us from the administration, Deputy Director John Uchi.
Aloha, good morning, Budget Chair and Committee. John Nouchi, Deputy Director, DTS. Thank you for entertaining this transfer of funds between our Transportation Mobility Division and our admin. I'd like to say a little bit that this software, we are probably about 2 months away from opening our rail system. And yeah, I'd actually like to celebrate that too, except that we have so much to do in so little time. But what this software does, there's about 3 things that this software package does do. What it does is it helps us unify our multimodal system. Right now, we use this software on our buses to show location and provide data to not only us, but to our passengers to clean up that arrival data that they get on the bus app and the HEA app to give them good real-time information. What this does is it will also give us the opportunity to loop in our rail system and provide that as a unified point of information for our passengers. But more importantly, the extra software that we're picking up right here will allow us to audit our systems, our schedules system-wide to determine where the schedules are not performing well, where we can identify some efficiencies and inefficiencies in our network, in our entire transit network. And most importantly, although we're looking by the end of summer to have rail open, our second phase of rail will likely be open 2 years following that, and that'll get us all the way to Middle Street in Kalihi. However, it'll also involve the airport and Makalapa Pearl Harbor. So at that point, we have to look at a major system redesign at that point, and this software will help us identify a lot of the places in our network where we can get value out of and maybe repurpose some service. Maybe we have too much time in one place and not enough in another. And it just helps us kind of keep GPS eyes on our whole system, including rail and bus.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, we are in discussion. Council Vice Chair Kiaina.
Thank you, Deputy Director, for the update. As I mentioned at previous occasions with regard to the rollout, I just want to make sure that we take into account those who are not able, our disabled community, to make sure that everything that you're doing takes into account, not after the fact, and that you forgot, right? So in all that you do, I just want to make sure that any materials you have or improvements that you make, take that into account with regard to the rollout.
Take you. Really appreciate that, Councilmember Kiaina. To that end, this software also does, it did unlock the ability for us, for people who aren't smartphone enabled, like many of us are, to actually get next bus arrivals via phone. So you can actually call a phone number. Imagine that people actually using the phone part of their phone and entering the stop number, and it'll give you the next arrivals via voice.
Okay, good to hear.
Thank you. Members, any other discussion? Councilmember Say.
Deputy Director, why would I want to go in for a contract of 1.5 years? It just doesn't make sense.
It has to do with the way that we currently have a contract with this software provider, and the way that we're contracted, it doesn't line up with the fiscal year. So what we're doing at this point is we're bringing on the new products in advance of the new suites, the new modules in advance of rail opening. and then providing the tail after that into the next fiscal year.
Well, to invest 900,000 for just a year and a half subscription, have you talked it over with Mr. Wong also of DTS?
Excuse me?
DIT?
This is a very specialized transit industry software package that's used at multiple agencies around the world. And I think for us to build something from the ground up would be fairly complicated. And we're looking at this as to unify all the data that we have across both bus and rail.
Don't get me wrong, I trust what you folks are doing. And I don't mind having you folks do this year and a half subscription tied to the source of funding, which is BT. But my point would be, after that, are we locked in with that particular subscription? Or are you going to be including it into the next, let's say, fiscal year 25 budget?
Yes, we intend to.
Oh, you folks will. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Okay. Okay, seeing none, we won't, thank you, Deputy Director. We will now proceed with remote testifiers. We don't have any registered remote testifiers. Angela Young just raised her hand. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the Budget Committee, Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support of the request to authorize a transfer of funds for the DTS Transportation Mobility Activity for 2023 to procure a software to support the bus and HART integration. And according to the Transportation Mobility website from the DTS, it says that there is a transit asset management plan, and it outlines strategies and processes and tools to address DTS's asset management policy and goals, and goals for the Honolulu multimodal transit system. And the draft plan can be accessed via the website. And just in support of the HART operations for the up-and-coming 2023 July opening, we are in strong support of all that HART is doing and also of the software that it seeks to procure. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you. There are no other remote testifiers, and we don't have any registered in-person testifiers, but is there anyone who wishes to testify in person? Okay. Seeing none, members, we are back in discussion. Any discussion on this transfer? Okay, and Deputy Director, do you plan to include, now that you know the different subscriptions and of softwares in current future budgets?
Yes, we fully intend to work with BFS on the admin side to make sure that the software that we have to operate rail in conjunction with our multimodal system is up-to-date, modern, and the most usable. And we hope to see a good return on investment for the money that we're investing into this software.
Okay, thank you. Members, any discussion? Councilmember Toba.
Quick question. So it's 900,000 for the year and a half. So overall, when you put it back into the budget in 2025, what's you think in the overall cost, and what is our return on investment?
So what I would define the return on investment is, this allows us, you know, when we look at right now, when we look at how we analyze our performance of our bus system, a lot of times we look at, excuse me, we look at how things are performing on time and whether we've allotted enough time for the operator to safely operate their vehicle and stay on schedule. So what we usually tend to look at that on a trip-by-trip basis. And understanding that we probably do nearly 4,000 trips in a weekday, it's hard for us to, to figure out how that works or how much time we're allocating over the whole system each and every day for every hour of the day. So this software basically crunches that analysis for us and allows us to figure out where we're deploying all of our, the time and resources. And if there are places where we've allotted too much time, we can actually scale that back and reinvest that into other places in our system.
The overall cost for the system.
I don't have that actually off the top of my head, but I can return that back to council.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, members. We are still in discussion. Okay, all right. Thank you, Deputy Director Nochi. The chair recommends that Resolution 23-80 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving forward, agenda item number 15, Resolution 23-58. We're authorizing the execution of a ground lease with Honolulu Highlands LP to develop a senior affordable rental project at the former Aya Sugar Mill site at 99-385 Pohai Place, Aya, Oahu, Hawaii 96701 TMK number 19-9-078:006. And with us from the city administration, we have the acting director of Department of Land Management, Kat Tashner.
Hi, good morning, almost good afternoon. Good morning, Budget Chair, other council members. Kat Tashner, Acting Director, Department of Land Management. We respectfully request the approval of the City Council to authorize the execution of a ground lease with Honolulu Highlands LP to develop a senior affordable rental project at the former Aya Sugar Mill site. The project will be developed pursuant to the development agreement approved by the City Council in resolution numbered 19-194 CD1. The development agreement included a form of ground lease, which was intended to be finalized at a later date, subject to the approval of the City Council. That's where we are now. The city and the project developer have now negotiated a final ground lease, incorporating changes based on the entitlements, on the financing commitments, and on final project plans. The city is therefore requesting approval of the City Council to approve and authorize the execution of the ground lease. The developer and their legal counsel are also here today if you have questions about the project or about some of the revisions.
Okay, thank you. And will you be going to the Aya Neighborhood Board and Aya Community Association to provide this update to them regarding the Honolulu site?
I think we can get back to you on that. Yeah. I'm consulting with the developer.
Okay,
That's a good question. I'll work with the developer on that, and we'll get back to you.
Okay, perfect. The Aya Neighborhood Board is next week, Monday, and then the Aya Community Association is next Monday, the following Monday after that. So May 8 and May 15. I think I may have gotten those numbers wrong, but whatever. It's okay. You get them. Okay. Thank you, members. Any questions? Okay, so Council Vice Chair Kia Aina.
Thank you, Deputy Director. I'm very excited about this project as well as the other projects on the calendar. Can you give me a time frame on when people are going to be able to move in?
That's an excellent question for the developer.
Okay, we can call them up if you wish. Okay. On, off.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Marian Gushiken, Vice President of Real Estate Development for EH Housing. I also have with me Quester Lau, Project Manager for Halewiliko, and then Tracy Tanaka, our Real Estate Counsel. To your question, we are planning to close in August of this year on our financing that we've assembled to date, and so construction is expected to take about 30 months or so, so we'd be opening in the third quarter of 2025.
Third quarter 2025, and then what will be the process for people to be able to apply to get into one of the units?
So I believe we have an interest list started. However, about 6 months prior to anticipated receipt of our certificate of occupancy, we'll start our marketing efforts. We're required by HHFDC's financing to create a lottery for the applicant processing. It simply means who we process in order. Eligibility entails 62 or older, households for 62 or older, and then income requirements, because we're targeting households at 30% to 60% of AMI.
Thank you so much. Very excited. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
For the Deputy Director, in addition to this and some of the other projects that are on the agenda, are we anticipating any other projects near completion that is ready to go with the ground lease?
Excuse me, so these three are there will be one more coming after this. It's not a ground lease, but it's an agreement of sale, Verona Village.
For Verona Village? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, thank you guys. Thank you as well for your good work. This is what we need to see. We need to see projects getting out of the door, and we need to see people moving in these units. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members, any other questions? Okay, thank you. Excited. This is my district. Okay, moving forward. Let's see here. We will now proceed with remote testifiers. We don't have any registered remote testifiers, but I do see Angela Young's hand up. Please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support. EAH Housing is proposing a new senior affordable rental residential project in Aiea, Hawaii, called the Hale-Wiliko Highlands, and it will consist of 140 residential units on a parcel of land within the Aiea Town Center, and access to the Hale-Wiliko Highlands will be via two existing lanes. And oh wait, sorry, I was starting to read the transportation part of the plan, but yeah. So we're just testifying in strong support because it proposes a new senior affordable rental residential project. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, also Angela, may I ask when you testify again if you can go into quiet place? It's pretty loud. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. Moving forward, we don't have any registered in-person testifiers, but is there anyone else who wishes to testify on this project? Okay, alrighty. With that, hopefully, once again, to have you at a future Aiea Neighborhood Board and Aiea Community Association meeting. Okay. Members, we are now back in discussion. Any discussion? Okay, the chair recommends that resolution 23-58 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections? Reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay. And also, actually, if we can have it before it gets adopted, because that would be kind of critical, yeah? Okay, thank you. Next item. Okay, last two items, guys. Agenda item number 16, resolution 23-59, reauthorizing the execution of a ground lease agreement with KP7 Partners, LLLP, to develop an affordable rental housing project at the Kapolei Parkway, Lot 7910, Kapolei Parkway, Kapolei, Hawaii, on the corner of Kapolei Parkway and Kunehi Street to Kapolei Parkway and Manawai Street, TMK number 19-1. -160:018, and we, of course, with us, acting, Director of Department of Land Management, Kat Tashner.
Hello. Okay. The Department of Land Management respectfully requests the approval of the City Council to authorize the execution of a ground lease agreement with KP7 Partners, LLLP, to develop an affordable rental housing project at the Kapolei Parkway, Lot 7. The project will be developed pursuant to development agreement approved by the City Council in Resolution number 20-6 CD1. Note that development agreement was both for Kapolei 6 and for Kapolei 7. For the ground leases, there will be separate ground ground leases. The development agreement included a form of ground lease, which was intended to be finalized at a later date, subject to the final approval of City Council. The city and project developer have now negotiated a final ground lease incorporating changes based on the entitlements, the financing commitments, and final project plans. The city is therefore requesting approval of the City Council to approve and authorize the execution of the ground lease. I am joined here today by the developer as well as their legal counsel if you have questions about the projects or any of the requested revisions.
Members, we are in discussion. Any questions for the DLM acting director? No. Okay. Any questions for the developer? Okay. Council Vice Chair Kia.
Thank you. Similar to my comments made on the other project, I strongly support this project and commend both the developer as well as DLM for moving this project forward. Can I also get a time frame on when we can anticipate construction to be completed and people able to move into the units?
Thank you so much, Alana Kobayashi Bakala here for Kobayashi Group. Thank you for the question. We also did prepare a short presentation to update everyone, but I know that you're all familiar with the project. Some respect to your time, I can just answer the questions. Our planned financing closing is for July, so we would start construction in August. And we'd actually, because it's a low-rise development over the 10 acres, we're actually able to move in our first residents in August of 2024. And then at about 100 units per quarter, we'll be completing the project that year, within that year.
How exciting. Again, I also just wanted to show my appreciation for the fact that you're going to have preschools on site.
Thank you so much.
Very exciting for the community. And I hope that other developers can replicate that because it's very important for families to be able to, have that type of availability for their families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for members of the public who wish to see the presentation, and yes, we have had this before different committees actually, for discussion. It is miscellaneous communication 202, or if you go to the agenda, the budget agenda online on our H&L docs, it's a part of our agenda on agenda item number 16. Okay, members, any other discussion relating to resolution 23-59?
Thank you.
Okay, council members say.
Oh, may I ask the acting director?
Sure. Calling acting director Tashner.
Ms. Tashner, looking at the resolutions of the first one, Sugar Mill, and the other two, why was the process so long as far as it started off 5 years ago? Explain to me. 5 years is a long time for any of us who are not here. And just give me the timelines of what has to be done.
I agree, and I share the frustration. It shouldn't be 5 years. These ground leases were attached to the development agreement. I'm not entirely sure why it took so long. The hope is to change the rules so that we can move things along quicker, because I think we all share the concern that we need to move it along.
That's a good point. You say change the rules. Do we have the council have to change the rules?
I think it would be in concert with council, yes. I think a rewrite of Chapter 38 is overdue.
Thank you. And hopefully we can have that discussion later too, because when I did, and I also told you this in a separate meeting relating to when I asked DCS for an update, or they'll say, DLM, we're waiting on DLM. So figuring out where things fall under and who to follow up with would be critical. And not only just because it was in my district, but of course the discussion, I do remember the discussion starting 5 years ago relating to this. And sorry, I'm going back to, I was talking about the last agenda item, but actually let me go back to this agenda item. I don't have any questions for that. Thank you. Any questions, further questions relating to Kapolei Parkway? Okay. All right. The chair recommends that resolution 23-59 be reported. Oh, excuse me. Okay, I got to do testifiers. I know it's a long meeting. Okay, so We will now proceed with remote testifiers. I don't have any registered remote testifiers, but I do see Angela's hand up.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the Budget Committee. Angela Melody Young testifying just in strong support of the new 404-unit affordable housing apartment complex that will be built on city-owned land on the Makai side of Kapolei Parkway. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. We don't have any registered in-person testifiers. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify? Okay. Members, we are in discussion. Any questions for acting director or the developer? Okay, seeing none, the chair recommends that resolution 23-59 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections? Reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving forward, we have resolution 23-60, authorizing the execution of a ground lease agreement with KP6 Partners LLP to develop an affordable rental housing project at the Kapolei Parkway Lot 6, 910 Kapolei Parkway, Kapolei, Hawaii, on the corner of Kapolei Parkway and Manawai Street to Kapolei Parkway and Wakea Street. TMK number 9-1-160:0018. We have the same people with us back again. Acting Director Tashner, as well as the developer. Please proceed.
Yes, thank you. So the Department of Land Management respectfully requests the approval of the City Council to authorize the execution of a ground lease agreement with KP6 Partners LLP to develop an affordable rental housing project at the Kapolei Parkway Lot 6. The project will be developed pursuant to the development agreement approved by the City Council in Resolution 20-6 CD1. The development agreement included a draft form of ground lease, which was intended to be finalized at a later date, subject to the final approval of the City Council. The Council and the project developer have now negotiated a final ground lease incorporating the changes based on the entitlements, the financing commitments, and a final project plans. The city is therefore requesting approval of the City Council to authorize the execution of the ground lease. I am joined by the developer as well as their legal counsel, should you have any questions.
Thank you. And once again, the same communications number for the number 7, lot 7 is also the same for lot 6, miscellaneous communication 202 or on the budget agenda. Members, any questions for acting director or the developer on this as well? Okay, seeing none, moving forward with remote testimony. We don't have any registered remote testifiers. Was any other remote testifiers? Okay, seeing none. We don't have any registered in-person testifiers, but is there anyone else who wishes to testify? Okay, seeing none. Members, we are back in discussion. Any discussion on this resolution and project? Okay, Councilmember Say.
We have one more decision making, which is the Food Council, right?
Yes.
Okay. After that, no more with these projects.
Wait, what do you mean no more with these projects?
Are they going to come before the council again?
No, this is the last council approval required to move these projects
you mean
forward.
This particular project, sorry.
I thought maybe going on to 6 years, that's why. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward, seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that resolution 23-60 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Once again, thank you all for being here and the
Thank you very
projects.
much.
Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. With there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 11:39 p.m. And I want to thank the members for the 17 items that you've endured.